Today is all about dopamine. So here's an unfun fact, and that is that our brains are hardwired for negativity. So that means if we get negative feedback in the workplace, we're really more likely to focus on that and spiral downhill. Let me know with an emoji in the chat if you can relate to that. If you get some negative feedback, you kind of stew on it for weeks and weeks and weeks. But if you get a piece of positive feedback, it's likely that maybe you just sort of brush past it and move on. Right. So today what we're trying to do is counteract that, right? So we're trying to really focus on the dopamine hits that we can get so that we can start to shift our brain and our mindset towards focusing on the positives, right? So this is all, we've developed this part of the challenge with our behavioral psychologist, Bri, who's amazing. And there's a neurochemical response that we're actually looking for on the back end of this part of the challenge. Because today's challenge seems kind of simple and quick. All you have to do today is send a text, right? So grab out your cell phone if you haven't already done it, and you're just going to text a mate or maybe your BFF at work or a colleague at work who you quite like. And you just have to say, hey, I'm doing this career challenge this week. I just wanted to know some feedback from you. What would you say is the single biggest impact I've made at work this year? Love any feedback that you have. So that's it. That's all you have to do today is send a text, right? And the reason we're going to do that is because we are so in our own head about stuff that what we're trying to do is sort of like take the blinkers off a little bit, right? In terms of our mindset, when we think about like, what are we good at work? What value are we adding? Often we spiral and we think, oh, nothing, I'm not even that good. Like, why would they even give me a raise? Why do I deserve a promotion? It's easy to tell ourselves that story. So today what we want to do is we want to have someone else external to you, albeit someone who loves and respects you, right? A friend or a colleague. But I do want you to ask them for their input. What do they reckon is your best quality from a work perspective? What do they think is your biggest success or win of the year? So you can send them a text, a WhatsApp, a Slack message on the work Slack, whatever is the easiest. And that's it. 2 sentences, done. And then when you get feedback, shoot it through to me via email, or you can pop it in the Facebook group, whatever is the easiest. You don't have to be in the Facebook group to do the challenge, but if you want to, that support is there as well. And if you really want to like go the whole hog, you can send a couple of texts if you want. You could send it to maybe a sister, maybe a colleague, a partner, a roommate, someone like that. Feel free to flick this off to as copy and paste and send it to as many people as you like if you want to. And hopefully it'll give you some warm and fuzzies. I will tell you that once I texted my brother and he wrote something like, you know, thinking he was a comedian in response. So if you have a brother who thinks they're a comedian and they're really not that funny, maybe this won't be as great of an exercise. So maybe choose someone who's going to kind of take it seriously. But the funny things can be good as well. And welcome to everyone who's joining us. Nice to see you. And then the other thing that you can do if you really want to sort of up the ante on today's challenge, as and when you get some feedback from someone who you've sent that text to, grab out a whiteboard marker or like a texter. I'm not sure what the word is for other countries around the world, but you know those markers that basically are removable, right? You can kind of, you know, write on a mirror or a whiteboard and you can kind of rub it off. I want you to grab one of those. And just if you have a mirror, like a bathroom mirror, this is where I like to do it. If you've had some positive feedback, you can just sort of write that affirmation or that piece of feedback onto the mirror in your bathroom. If you're in a share house, you can do it in your bedroom if you don't want everyone to see it. If you're happy for everyone to see it, that's fine. But I do this quite regularly, actually. I'll grab out a texter, a marker, and I'll just write like a positive quote or an affirmation onto the mirror because, you know, when I'm brushing my teeth or flossing or like doing my makeup, I see that every day, right? And it's like, okay, I'm not really focusing on it. I'm probably listening to a podcast or thinking about something else, but it's an unconscious message that I'm receiving that's positive. Right. And what we're really trying to do in this challenge is send ourselves as many of those positive unconscious messages as we can, because we know that incrementally all of these pieces of change and this positive reinforcement is going to start to shift our mindset. Now, why should we bother? We should bother because that's going to ladder up to you having the confidence and the courage to have much harder conversations in the workplace when it comes to what your compensation should look like, what your title should look like, and what your trajectory within the business is. And you may end up having to making a tough decision that the workplace doesn't value you, right? And there's a whole separate conversation that we can have. What does a plan B look like, right? So we'll get to that later in the week. But yesterday was really about like starting to focus yourself and reflect on those successes. Today is about getting that external feedback from someone else, texting someone else in your life to say, hey, what do you reckon is my best quality at work? And then really listening to that and taking your key takeaway from that response and writing it onto a mirror. or a whiteboard or whatever, so that you see that message regularly. Now, I know this doesn't seem like rocket science, and it's not, and that's kind of the point, right? Really small incremental changes can ladder up to lead to huge results. So we've had people that have gone through our paid programs, which I can tell you a little bit about today if you want, but also tomorrow I'll talk more about that, which is like helping people get, you know, $15,000 pay increases, $30,000 pay increases. We've had 3 people get $100,000 pay increases, which is like not going to happen for everyone, but it does happen, which is kind of nice and aspirational for those of us who would like to have that happen. I had an email yesterday actually from someone in this challenge who got a 22% pay increase. So these are significant numbers, right? And, you know, we know again from psychology and behavioral psychology that like really focusing on ourselves and our sense of self-worth makes a huge difference, because other people can kind of sense and smell almost like, you know, metaphorically, if we're kind of feeling down in the dumps about ourselves. If you don't reckon you're worth it, it's really hard to get someone else to believe that you are. But if we can start, the only thing that you control is yourself, right? That's the only thing that you can control. And after running PepTalkHer for, I think it's almost like 8 years at this point, we've had 60,000 women through our programming, using our apps, stuff like that. The biggest thing that I see is people do not know how awesome they are. And I want you to know that, because if you know that, it's going to emanate through. Your colleagues are going to realize that. Your boss is going to realize that. And it's my hope that we can get that to translate into more cash in the bank for you, or more choice, or more opportunities, or more flexibility, whatever it is that floats your boat from a work perspective, in terms of your compensation package. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat, or you can send me an email as well. Do you want to just clarify in the chat what you mean by that question? And I'll come back. I'm not quite clear on what you mean by that. And Agni's made a really great point in the chat that just spending a few minutes focusing on your past performance means that you can actually come up with some pretty good data points that you can use as an argument or as leverage to get the increase in salary or, you know, flexibility that you're looking for. And yeah, taking a note of the achievements, the PepTalkHer app is free. I'll pop the link to that in the chat too, so you can download that if you're not already using it. It will send you prompts even after the challenge, all throughout the year, to reflect on those successes. Reflect, record, trying to build that brag book so that you have the data in here in the app that you can then leverage to use for promotions and pay raise opportunities. Okay, so the message you're going to send in the text is, hey, I'm doing a career challenge this week. Quick question. What would you say is the single biggest impact that I've had on the workplace? You know, you can rephrase that as, what do you think is my greatest quality in the workplace? Anything like that. Just one simple question. Don't have to overthink it. Send that to someone, a best friend, a roommate, a sister, an uncle, whoever you're close to who loves and respects you. Take that feedback. Let me know in the Facebook group or via email what you get in response. And we will sort of take ingredient A from yesterday, ingredient B from today, and we'll parlay that into tomorrow's session, which is really about your confidence and translating confidence into monetary values. So tomorrow will be a slightly longer session. We try and keep it to 5 minutes. I've gone a little bit over time today, but tomorrow will be a little longer. So if you can block out like 40, 45 minutes, that's good for tomorrow. And I'll talk you through a framework that's really helpful. I'll tell you a little bit more about our group program that we have launching, the last one for this year. And then we'll continue the free challenge for the rest of the week as well. So really small tips that you can all do to just shift your mindset. There's a couple of people in this challenge already who've done the challenge a couple of times who are back because of the reminder that it is in the workplace and how valuable these small incremental changes are. Okay, so check your email. It will have more details as well as to what to send in that text. There's a couple other questions that I'm going to get to later in the week. How do you handle a plan B? We're going to talk a little bit more about that on Thursday. How do you know when you need to have a plan B in the workplace? So make sure you hang around same time every day, all this week. And any questions, flick me a note on email. But so nice to see everyone. Thanks for joining the challenge. And we'll be back again same time tomorrow for a longer session tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. See you, T. Bye, Anshu. Thanks, Siska. See you, Sam. Bye, Patty. Take care. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.